Right then, pre-season is now in the bag, but while the signings are flowing in, United do seem to be making progress in that sort of area. You've got Sesko through the door. You've got a whole new attack. There's even rumours of other positions being sorted out. And even the bomb squad looks like it's starting to thin out. Not everything is fixed yet. And there's a few things that I think have stood out that still require fixing. Not going to speak on the forward line too much, because I think that will come with the rest of the lads getting minutes and also playing together, and I do think that will resolve itself. So goals, even though that I think was the biggest problem that we saw last season, I think goals will come. I think the personnel and the link up will it'll happen with time, and obviously with us only having one game a week, they'll get the reps in for doing that. But there's a couple of things that I think we have struggled with that absolutely need fixing. So let's break them down. First and foremost then is playing out from the back. Now United still struggle to comfortably build up from the back. Despite the tour flash, the fitness gains that we've seen, when you're analysing Manchester United, there is a struggle when it comes to playing out. The structure, the predictability, the quality in Manchester United's ability to progress across the halfway line with the ball is poor. We get pressed, we get put under pressure, and it either forces long balls or panics by Bruno dropping really too deep to try and get on the ball and force something to happen. What you see is Bruno drifting so deep, he almost ends up like a wing-back. And what then ends up happening is one of the wing-backs sort of has to come into the number 8, number 10 kind of space. And it just creates like a weird structural imbalance for us where progression stalls or pressure overwhelms the pivot and you end up going long. And okay, Benjamin Sesko might be an option for us to go long too, but let's go long to him as a plan, not as a plan B. Like, playing out from the back has really plagued us. We don't look like we have a comfortable plan A structure to how we're going to do it. In both Chicago and Atlanta, defenders rarely had clean lines or options popping left and right in midfield. So they would look for either a battered diag as a clearance or rely on Bruno coming deep to come and get the ball from the back, and it's not fluid enough and it's too predictable. In this system, you must retain possession. You've got to link the phases. You've got to work your way through the thirds. The Rúben Amorim system of play is quite deliberate. It isn't about going rushing forward, and it isn't about just smashing it into the channel and looking at trying to win a second ball. It really isn't that. One criticism I could have is it's almost quite slow at times when you're building up. And it's a lot slower than what we've seen under Ole, what we've seen under Ten Hag, and even what you've seen under Jose. It's almost a little bit Lou Van Gaalish in terms of how structured and deliberate that it is. And if you're going to be structured and deliberate, you have to be fucking quality with it. And there has to be structure and there has to be domination in those phases. And there isn't. So right now, I look at the likes of Brighton, I look at the likes of Liverpool, I look at how they build up from the back and how they press from the front, and I think they would smell blood and they would absolutely crack down on us if we play forward in the manner that we have been doing. Fixing it will go a massive way to reclaiming the identity of this team. It's nothing to do with fitness, it's about systems and it's about clarity and it's about repetition of whatever it is that we're creating, those overloads, those triangles, those passing lanes. So we have to do that. There has to be options as we move the ball forward. Bruno has to have the discipline to hold his position rather than just panicking and coming getting on the ball because we're not able to progress it using how we want to. And I think Matthijs de Ligt, I think Lenny Yoro, I think Shaw or Martinez or whoever is going to make up the other side of it, Mazraoui, they're all absolutely capable of being in possession and moving the ball forward, but you have to give them the options, and that requires movement, rotations, and the ability to recognize when someone's under pressure from the midfield, and that's where we're giving up a little bit of initiative and ended up going long and just smashing it, and that's not sustainable for a team that wants to be in possession. Secondly, it's the counter-attack transitions. A better midfield option is needed. Now, I've spoken about this quite a lot, which is there's no natural fits in midfield. Manuel Ugarte is probably the most suited to this, but he can't do it on his own. We get exposed in transition. If it's Bruno and Ugarte, you're getting exposed in transition. If it's Bruno and Mainu, you're getting exposed in transition. To me, it feels structural. We are vulnerable on the transition. Either one of the defenders has to step up and create an extra man in midfield, or the wing-backs, if we're down the left-hand side, the right-hand side wing-back needs to tuck in and not provide the full width at the top, but actually provide a little bit of, maybe go 50-50. But be able to get into midfield and shunt it over a little bit to create a little bit of structure, because we are fragile. And those pre-season games against Premier League opposition really shown. I mean, Everton were not good and they exposed United on the transition. You know, that's what pre-season games are for. Identify the weaknesses in your game and try and figure it out. Obviously, we've been linked with Baleba. In my view, it's precisely because of that glaring issue. The transition against United is killing us. You know, you can see why he, in particular, yes, he brings someone who's going to drive the ball forward. Yes, he brings pressing intensity, but it's that protection on the transition which is where he excels. He makes tackles, he makes interceptions, he smothers the opposition attack as it gets going, and that gives you the protection that you need to cover in that back line. You can allow a Bruno to join the 5 attackers because he and the other 3 defenders are capable enough because of his positioning, his reading of the game, and his ability to cover the ground. That's why we've been linked to him. Casemiro can't do it. It seems like Ugarte can't do it on his own. Probably better as a 3. Kobe Mainu can't do it. I think he'd be better as a 3. We've got loads of players that would be fantastic players in a midfield 3, but we play a double pivot. So we're either going to have a defender come up and help them, a wing back tuck in and be there on the transition, or this system's going to continually keep getting us exposed. And third, Bruno's best position. Now, he was United's most creative weapon. He averaged 2.84 chances per 90 for 5 years. He is the 6th most prolific Premier League player in the last 2 decades in terms of chance creation. He's an absolute disgrace of a player, and he's been at United's worst time. Where does he flourish? Honestly, I don't know. He basically played in 3 different positions in 3 different games. In previous systems, he functioned fantastically as a number 10, operating between the lines with a bit of a free roll. He was flash, he was effective, he was game-changing, he got on the ball, he got shots off. Under Amorim, we've seen him played higher up. We've seen him be part of the pivot. You've seen him as a little bit of an inside forward. You've even seen him as a false 9. There isn't a natural fit for Bruno Fernandes in this team. And that was why when that bid from Saudi Arabia came in, you was kind of like, this kind of works out for everybody here. Bruno didn't want to go, and the club weren't forced into selling him. He's still the captain. He's still an absolute linchpin of the team. And even though he didn't have a natural position with Rúben Amorim towards the back end of last season, individually, he still played well. So you've got to figure out, how do you get the best out of him and therefore the best out of the team? When he drops too deep, he loses influence in terms of chance creation. When he drops too deep, he doesn't have the positional discipline to sit as part of a structured midfield. He's too kind of like giddy and wants to press. And that giddy press is mad effective when you're the number 10, because you're sort of in between the lines anyway. You can run beyond your striker and go and press, and it doesn't mess up the structure. You do that as the number 8 and you leave a gap in midfield, and then United get absolutely tatered on the return. Sometimes Bruno's got a tendency to overwork, to have this desire to win the ball back at all costs. That can pull him too wide, too high, and leave the rest of the midfield exposed. So is his best position higher up? Yeah, probably is. But you've just signed Mbeumo, you've just signed Cunha, and you've just signed a centre forward. So where does he fit? I thought there was an option that United might flip to a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2, where you kind of narrow in your 2 wider forwards, your Mbeumo and Cunha, and maybe you give Bruno the number 10 position in behind them a little bit. That doesn't look like it's going to happen now you sign Benjamin Sesko. So there's a big decision to be made on, can you adapt Bruno Fernandes? Can he install a positional discipline in him to be able to fulfill that role? Or Are we going to have to shoehorn him into a position or even sign someone that can do a little bit more defensive work than should be fair to accommodate the creative output that you're going to get from Bruno? So there you go. There's 3 serious flaws that are plaguing us, I think. Awkward build-up, fragile on the counter, and inconsistent in how you use our captain and possibly one of our best players. If you fix those, you will fix 3 major issues in this United team. Let me know how you would fix them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.